What's up, lovely people? Welcome back to another video right here on Entrepreneur Podcast Club. I'm your host, Mr. EPC, and give a big, massive round of applause to my very special guest, all the way from America, Meg. So, welcome to the show first and foremost, and thank you very much for your time. So, you have a 2019 best-selling book. Do you just want to tell the viewers a bit about that?
Yes. So this book is what would happen if the comedian Seth Meyers or a nun were to conceive a book baby, and you would have this book. What I mean by that is it's satirical, it's spiritual, and it's also self-help. And it is for recovering people pleasers to help them take back their power and find peace in all of their relationships. And it's called I Am My Own Sanctuary.
Okay, fantastic. And prior to that book, did you write another book in 2016?
Yes, I did write another book, which was a very different beast in that everything healthy evolves. The healthiest artist evolves. And there is, so I say that to say my first book stylistically was very different than my second one. My first book was a transformational nonfiction teaching resource. It's a how-to guide, how to offer hope to kids whose home lives seem hopeless, and it's for those that work in the nonprofit world. Because I was in before I became a writing and marketing coach, as you know, I was in ministry for 15 years, and so this book came from my time there. How can our communities and our YMCA's and schools and nonprofits and churches be a supplemental family to kids of troubled homes? So that was the book that started it all. And that one is called The Bluebonnet Child: How to Find Grace in Poor Soil.
Okay, fantastic. So we'll put the link to your website in the description box below. So the viewers that are watching this who may be interested in looking at your profile and your books, they could just click onto the link, which will take you to your website. So you mentioned there that you worked previously. So what made you go from what you were doing previously to what you're currently doing?
A great question. So when my first got picked up, doors opened like it does for lots of authors. I began speaking at conferences and about the content of my book, and conversations started to come back to me from other people who had really healing and helpful book ideas, yet they were too afraid to do anything with those book ideas because they had, like I did, lots of limiting beliefs, mostly from their religious upbringing, but limiting beliefs around marketing being egotistical and slimy and manipulative and dirty, and monetizing their gifts being greedy, and not the limiting belief around trusting themselves, that it would not be a good Christian pious thing to do to trust their own desires to write and release a book. So that began to break my heart because I was thinking of all these amazing books that would never be helping other people. And so that's what that did it, those conversations, and me trusting my own desires too, and that I wanted to leave the ministry and help shine the light full time on other authors who were writing really helpful and healing books.
Okay, fantastic. And in terms of the process for writing a book, what was your process like?
Yes. Every writer's process is different. I have found, though, I've been so honored to serve 44 clients in 4 years, as you know, because you and I talked about it before. And I have found that there are certain steps that I've seen all my clients take, and they were the same steps that I took. And what those steps are, the first one is simply to choose to commit to writing your book and make a decision that this is the year I'm going to do it. And a lot of things will fall into place after that first step is done. From that place, still being part of that first step, is the book idea within you has been whispering for a while, most likely. Most people I visit with, it's been around or over 5 to 7 years that the book's been talking to them. So in that step of committing to it, saying this is the year I'm going to do it, the idea within you hears that, feels seen, loved, and heard, and is now going to get louder. And so the next step is to take what you get, go with what the book idea is giving you so far. Even if that is just a question, the book wants to ask this question, or the book, I don't know the genre yet, but the book, it feels like if Tina Fey's Bossy Pants was to conceive a book baby with Donald Miller's Blue Like Jazz. And like that was the first thing my second book told me, was that it wanted to be that. So I took what it gave me and I took another step. And so committing, surrendering, and writing it. And then I love to give authors a template based on neurological research. What makes your nonfiction book or your memoir the most readable, relatable, retainable, and highly marketable? So I give my clients a template to follow, and then we do this chapter scaffolding for the book. And so outlining the book, it gives you more confidence. It also decreases your amount of analysis paralysis when you sit down to write at your assigned write time during the week. And that's another step to take as true, which is there's lots of right ways to have a writing routine. You don't have to write every day. Some clients do. Some binge write just a week over the weekend. Some binge write just once a month. And so honoring your routine and an outline helps amplify that time in your writing routine. I'm checking in. Okay. And then the last thing it's simplifying this process. The last helpful step that's coming to me, without even getting into all the marketing and publishing and brand building stuff, which I also love. But the last step that I would say serves is the last step that I feel worth mentioning is along with having your outline, your template, whether you get that from me or somewhere else online, along with having an outline and a template of the big picture of your book, I also recommend that authors have a document, whether it's on Google Docs or whatever program you're using, have another document that I like to call the book flare. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if it's made it over. Surely the comedy, the movie Office Space have you seen that over in the UK, Office Space? It's really old, like 25 years old.
I think I've heard of The Office.
The Office is awesome. Office Space was a movie with Jennifer Aniston long before The Office was a show. And in that movie, Jennifer Aniston is a waitress and she has suspenders on as her uniform. And her boss is always telling her to put more flair on her uniform, the flair being the little pins on her suspenders. So what book flair is anything in the holistic experience of your book that is more than just it's outside of the words on the page. So this can be title ideas, chapter title ideas, quotes, epigraphs at the beginning of the chapter, images, flourishings, notes in the margins, anything funky that you want to do to your book that you saw someone else do and you want to steal like an artist and borrow it from a place of integrity, you put in the flair while you're typing out the words, and you just keep those ideas there, knowing that when you're all done writing, you can go and make those other things happen. And so I would recommend that step as well. Yeah, I think those are the most important steps in birthing and releasing a book. Oh, there's last one. And the last step is to believe that the book idea is talking louder to you because of two equally important reasons. The reasons are, one, it wants to give you the joy of releasing it, writing it, birthing it, releasing it. And equally as important, the idea is only getting louder because someone outside of you, because we're all connected, whether you believe that theologically or through quantum physics, we're all connected. Energy follows thought, all that stuff. The idea within you is getting louder because someone outside of you, their need for your book is growing. They're getting hungrier for your book, and they've been waiting for someone with your exact personality, style, experience, scars, ideas. They've been waiting for you to write it. So that's why the idea is getting louder. And when we come home to that truth, it helps us to stay focused and finish the darn book.
Okay, fantastic. So you mentioned there you got 44 clients in 4 years. So how
Yeah.
did you get to 44 clients within 4 years?
Yes. I became a master at organic social media marketing. That is the basis of my business.
Okay, fantastic. So in terms of that, did you reach out to certain people, just send them a DM and then see if they respond back and just continue doing that?
I mastered 12 types of post, and now I have 16 types if someone's writing a work of fiction, but 12 types of posts that I also equip my clients with. And so in those posts, they all obviously are in line with the principles of marketing, and they can be used interchangeably on any social media platform. So even 5 years from now, when there's a whole new trendy social media platform that we're all on, these 12 post types will still apply. And what those post types did was motivate, teach, engage. As you know, all the jargon I'm using speak to the subconscious pain points of my ideal client. Um, and then those posts would bring in people to me. And so whether that was through direct message or email or booking a call on my website. And then I would say, I would have to say, another basis of my another pillar of my business is mastering the game of sales, because while I contract out with people under me to do cover art and um, the copy and line editing and the publishing process, I still do, and I love doing. I love the game of sales. I do all my sales calls. Clients, they do an exploration call. It's with me. So I had to become a master of marketing and then a master of sales. And someday I think that'll change. Someday I'll delegate my sales calls out. But I love it so much that I like right now. It feels good that I'm still doing it. So that was how I got. I would say those two things got me to 44 clients: mastering organic social media marketing and then mastering the game of sales.
Okay, fantastic. So do you just want to tell the viewers a bit about your background, where you're born, where you're bred, what level of education you got, etc.?
Sure. Yeah. I spent some time in Europe where you are, so that's cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was an army brat. So when I was leaving out all the traumatic childhood stuff, when I was 4, my stepdad at the time was in the army, and so we left Texas and I lived in Germany um, until I was 11. Then I came back to Texas. I'm already telling too many details. So I come from a long line of very strong Southern Belle women, and I celebrate that. Um, so I think that's a important part of my very important part of my story is I had very strong women leading me, and then I also had very strong men cheering me on. And so my whole life I can't think of any moment when I felt that I couldn't do something because I was a woman. And which led to me, I began preaching when I was 13. My missionary grandparents would take me to conferences and churches, and I would sing and I would preach. And so that got me on the path to ministry, which is the I joke about my second book. I was a minister, a paid church staff member from age 17 to 32. That's going to bring some funny stories to talk about. So that's my second book. Um, okay, so that was growing up. So I went to school, obviously, to study religion and become a pastor and seminary. And when I was at seminary, I loved curriculum writing. I love studying that, and I love studying the brain and building healthy volunteer teams, what motivates people in healthy volunteer teams. I loved studying pastoral care. And it's neat how I get to use all those gifts now in coaching amazing authors to get through deep subconscious blocks. Um, I've been married for 14, no, how many years? 20? Yeah, 14 years. 14 years. And We have a 9-year-old daughter who's going on 47. She's very intuitive and intelligent,
Yeah.
world changer. She's fire. Yeah, so I think that's me. That's me. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So, come back to the book, your books that you've written. So, how long did it take you to actually write the book from the idea into your head to actually
Mhm.
getting it out there?
Yes. So my first book, like lots of books do, it started as a paper. It was a paper that I wrote in seminary. And now this is it's pretty awesome. The professor in that class back in 2010 is now a client of mine, and I'm coaching her to market her book, which is so exciting. But she read the paper and she said, "This is this could be something like this." And so she spoke that over me, and it became something. And so obviously it went from 2,000 words to 25,000 words, and that was my first book, and that took about 6 months. And it's depending on font size, because I know listeners are wondering, that's a little over 100-page book. And then my second book also just took 6 months, but I had a lot more time to write on it. And so it was 64,000 words, and that's over 200. Oh, I should have my mind with numbers. 200 and it's over 200 pages. So they both took me about 6 months to write. And yeah.
Okay. So, when you say 6 months,
Mhm.
how many hours a week approximately were you working on the book in order to get it done within the 6 month time frame that you did?
Yes, that was around an hour-ish a weekday, an hour-ish every weekday.
Okay. So, did you
Hmm.
set time aside after your 9 till 5 in order to write that book?
Hmm. Yes, and I have talked to so many authors who their personality type or their Enneagram type or whatever their sun sign is in the zodiac, they don't think that it wouldn't serve them to have a writing routine. And my personality type, how I'm wired, it helps me very much to have a time set aside that's blocked out. And so for personalities that aren't like mine, who think, I'm an artist, I don't want to be bogged down, I got to be moved by the spirit, moved by the muse. What I like to do with them is have them pick a day that they're going to be writing and then make a promise, not a plan, but a promise to themselves that on that day they will be writing. And then this is where it gets really fun, to tear off certain sections, like write on little sheets of paper sections of their book, put those sheets of paper in a hat or a bowl and draw from them. And so you have this feeling of spontaneity and not rigid structure, but you're still keeping your promise to yourself. And so I have found that's one of the big roles I'm honored to play with authors, is being that accountability for them, knowing that they will Zoom an hour a week with me. We'll be typing together in the Google document throughout our week, and they've made a promise that when we meet, by the time we meet next time, they're going to have this part done. And so that is really helpful for the majority for every personality type. And I do enjoy getting creative with different personality types that don't want to be stuck in a rigid structure. So we get to get creative, think outside the box of how to help them keep their promise to themselves without feeling bogged down in a structured environment or whatever.
Okay, fantastic. So let's talk about the products and services that you offer in
Okay.
terms of your business. So what are the products and services that you offer within your business?
Yes. So there are two evergreen courses, and one is outlining your memoir made simple, and the other is outlining your nonfiction book made simple. And those are just courses, so no coaching, no Zooms with me, no Voxing with me. And then there is the Prosperous Writer Boot Camp, which is another evergreen course that covers everything someone would learn from me without coaching, along with the bonuses, all marketing. And so that's the Prosperous Writers Boot Camp. That's a course. And then when you get into coaching, a partnership with me where we're talking every week, we're Zooming every week. You can Vox me anytime through the weekdays. I have the Prosperous Writer package, which is everything. And so write it, market, sell it get it to bestseller on Amazon Kindle, paperback, and Audible. And that can be 6 months, a 6-month container or a 12-month container. And that is everything I offer. Or that could be broken down. And so what I mean by that, into different parts. So what I mean by that is I have some authors I serve who already have a completed book, but they want my team to help them build their brand, to market it, get it to best, and publish it to bestseller. And so that can be a package, just marketing and publishing. Or I have some clients that are like my seminary professor. She has a book, it's getting published, but she has no clue. Marketing isn't fun for her. Building her brand isn't fun for her. How can I make it fun? So she hired me for that. So that's just marketing. Or it can be just audio books. So yeah, it's everything an author needs after being in the game of publishing since 2016. I'm extremely proud of what I've created that is saving people tons of time, energy, and misery because it's literally everything an author needs to write, market, and sell an Amazon best-selling book.
Okay, fantastic. So let's say somebody is thinking of writing a book. They've been
Mhm.
the idea for years. What advice could you give them in order to give them a kick up the bum in order to start writing the book?
Mm. There's so many different possibilities here. What's coming to me is what are you afraid of? Sitting in that question.
Okay, fantastic.
That is usually a common block. And there can be many fears that come, but that is usually a common block. And so that wasn't really advice. It was so I'm sitting in the question, I'm sitting in the moment if more needs to be said. You just asked for advice and I just responded with a question. um mm. Yeah, what's coming up is I'm speaking to myself right now as I'm working on my third book. Knowing that whatever comes up when you ask that question, what am I afraid of? Knowing that you are brave enough to not only answer that question, you know the answer, it's going to come up for you. Like I know my answer for mine. Um, and that whenever we birth books, we birth breakthroughs. It affects every part of our lives, writing a book. And so the fear is coming up right now that you have that is a block for you because it's time for you to level up, to grow. And the book is a catalyst for that. And so be thankful for the fear, speak to the fear, love the part of you that is afraid. This could go so much deeper, but I won't because we don't have that much time. um, what helped me on a without going too deep is whenever there's a part of me that's afraid, I could check in and ask myself what percent of me is afraid. And so let's say I ask the question, I'm experiencing writer's block. What am I afraid of? I'm afraid that people won't think I'm that smart. I've never written this genre before. I struggled in school academically, even though almost 38. I'm not in school anymore. My neuroplasticity, my brain has changed, but I'm still afraid that some might not think I'm smart. I'm not smart enough to write fiction. What am I think? So, and then once I've spoken that fear, checking in and what percent of me feels that fear. And when I check in, it's about 30% of me. 30% of me feels that fear. And we know through neuroscience that it's just a mind chatter. Our brain is always doing it, as you know, especially when we go to try something new. Our brain wants to keep us safe. So it's going to tell us all the reasons we shouldn't do it because the brain likes to be on autopilot, but our soul was made to be creative. So when I come home to the truth of, okay, just 30% of me feels that fear, I realize as that the soul, the powerful soul that I am, or if someone doesn't align with the word soul, they can just realize, oh, 70% of me is not afraid. So can that 70% of me lead that 30% that is afraid? Because this is what I desire to do. This is what I feel called to do, is to learn a new genre, is to write this very healing story in the form of fiction. So I'm going to let the 70% of me lead me. And I thank the part of me that is afraid because it's trying to keep me safe. And it's coming up right now. That fear is coming up to grow me up. And it's time for me to up level. And the book's a part of that. Was that any helpful advice for anyone who's been wanting to write but hasn't written for a long time?
Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah, it's just conquering that fear within. Okay.
Yes. Naming, yeah. And speaking and naming the fear. Totally.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your host, Mr. EPC. Big shout out to Meg for taking the time out to speak to me and recording the podcast. So do look out for the next podcast. And if you did like this podcast, please do hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. And thank you very much for watching.